throw it in just to see what they say.
Good afternoon.
Yeah.
Leon. Good evening. We're going to call our District 7 School Board meeting to order. We'd like to welcome all who are joining. Are we on Zoom? Is it started, Todd? Are we good? Okay. All right, great. Well, thank you for being here. Welcome to everyone. I see do we know if Gary's going to make it tonight? Well, we'll get started without him and we'll see what happens. So we'll call our meeting to order just a few minutes late, but thank you for being here. And we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you would all rise and join with me, we will recite the pledge. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so we will start with our agenda tonight on 2.0, communications and presentations. Do we have any written communications, Superintendent Cole?
We do not.
All right, we'd like to remind individuals who are visiting or those who are joining us online, if you'd like to speak to a specific item on the agenda, you may either put your questions in the chat or submit a blue card to Todd in the back, and he will be more than happy to pass those on to us, and we'll make sure that you have the opportunity to speak. 2.3 is our financial report, as well as 2.4 audit summary for 2022, or 2020 and 2021. And 2.5 is our third-year probationary to contract teacher highlights. So, any comments on those?
No comments unless the board has questions.
Debbie, do you have any questions on the financial report, audit summary, or probationary to contract teacher highlights?
I assume the KDP report is the one that we've discussed earlier in the year.
I believe that is correct. Director Ely is participating via Zoom. If we could make her available to confirm that for sure, but yes, this should just be a summary of the audit that you received earlier.
That is correct.
Okay. And just needs to be in official reports or something, is that why it's here?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I tried to look all through that fine print and thought that's what it was.
Okay, we'll move on to number 3, our consent agenda, and we'll entertain a motion to approve our board agenda for this evening, as well as our draft minutes from our last meeting. And we also have some out-of-state travel, which is noted there. So I'll entertain a motion to approve all of those items.
So moved.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
Director Nelson, I need a confirmation on who seconded that. I did not hear.
Cliff, sorry. All right, 4.0, our reports tonight. So we have our principal's report, and we'll start with Principal Thompson. So thank you.
4 reports from the high school tonight. First off, a quick summary of our winter sports report. Our wrestling team had a good season. They finished second in the conference in districts, 4 district champions. They finished 11th in the state. There was a couple of students who didn't quite make weight at the end, or otherwise we looked at a possible top 5 finish. Drayden Myers finished 3rd, and Owen Hole finished 6th. For the girls, Morgan Edwards qualified for state. That was the highlight there. And in swimming, our boys were district champs, so very proud of our boys swimmers. Girls were 2nd in districts. At state, our boys medley relay placed 5th, and Jacob Porosco 6th in the 100 fly and 8th in the 500 free. Boys basketball tied for third in the league, made some good strides this year. Just missed the state playoffs. They finished at 33, and you have to be in the top 32, and it literally came down to the last night of the season. More importantly, there was a referee in Eugene that was an observer at the South Eugene Grants Pass boys basketball game. And there was some contention within the game. Actually, the whole student body of South Eugene had to be kicked out. It was not an easy game, but the referee that observed was so impressed with our boys basketball team and the sportsmanship they displayed. He is nominating them for a sportsmanship award and wanted to let Athletic Director Roundsville and myself know. And that was a fun piece of news to deliver to the team. That was a real win there. So very proud of them. Girls basketball finished third in league. They did make the state playoffs. They were underdogs in that first round, but they beat West Salem. That was a great win for them last week. And then they did end up losing to Clackamas this past Saturday. Bowling, we had boys that finished second in the league and also second in the state. We just so happened to be in the same league as North Medford, who happened to be first in league and first in state. And then the girls finished first in league and then seventh in state. So congratulations to our boys and girls bowling team. You see some spring sports behind you if you look over your shoulder. Kids still practicing out there. Some good turnouts. And we're really happy to see that because COVID really did have an impact on our sport turnout, our club turnout, our music turnout. The last couple of years, if you've talked to anyone around the state, you just see declining numbers. And so we were really glad to see some high numbers. 160 students out for track, 60 out for baseball, and 40 out for softball. Of course, there's also tennis and golf too, but very pleased with those numbers and feel like we're back on the uptick, which feels real good. Academic Masters, you may have seen the coverage there, but super proud of our kids. We had 5 seniors, which always is usually a pretty good sign when you have 5 seniors going into that competition. 3 first place finishers and 2 second place finishers. Adam Jensen was our champion in music, Nicholas Rist in math, Allie Rist, his sister, in English, and then second place in social studies, Alexander Guyman, and Madeline Cox was second place in science. So super proud of our kids. They did very well. Boy, if you ever have a chance to see or hear Adam Jensen play the piano, it is amazing, just very moving. So great job to all of them. And then, of course, Grants Pass took home the first place team trophy. Puffs is the name of our spring production put on by our theater department under the direction of Julia Cuppy. Puffs, or also it could be called 7 Increasingly Eventful Years at a Certain School of Magic and Magic. So it's kind of the Harry Potter theme there. Very good reviews the first opening weekend. It'll be playing 3 more times this weekend, Friday and Saturday at 7 p.m. and Sunday at 2 p.m. So if you have a chance to go, good reviews there. And then finally, graduation is around the corner, June 10th. And each of the last 2 years, it's been an atypical graduation in that we've had 4 ceremonies each of the last 2 years. 2 years ago, everyone got 2 tickets. Last year, everyone received 5 tickets. And although we were grateful for a somewhat normal ceremony, it was not as normal as we would have liked. So this year, we need to plan now, obviously, and we're hopeful for as little to no COVID restrictions as possible, depending on what it is at that time. But we also found, just like COVID taught us new things, and that there's some things that can be better. We learned a lot through those last 2 ceremonies, and that wow, the more ceremonies you have, you don't have all that anxiety and 480 people in line waiting and pushing and shoving and running to seats and disputes in the stands. And fewer parking issues and so forth. So we're not going to have anyone attend this ceremony. It's just going to be what we are talking about, though, is having 2 ceremonies versus 1. And so we went out and talked to the seniors about that in their senior English classes and talked about some of those advantages that I already previously mentioned, plus a little shorter ceremony time as well, and also taking a little ownership of the event too, so in case there's some restrictions at the time, we would be a little pre-planned. So we had them vote after we got to them, and 54% said they were in favor of having 2 ceremonies versus 1. So I've informed our parents of that too, that is where things stand. We're looking at like a 4:30 and a 7 o'clock ceremony. We give students choice over who they graduate with, and so just like we did the last couple of years, so they would be able to list 5 or so friends that they could walk with. And then even ceremony times, we're going to give them some choice on that too. So I know when that did really resonate with kids that had attended Grants Pass High School ceremonies as observers, because if any of you have gone, you know the push and the busyness of trying to get in. So anyway, that's a little update from Grants Pass High, and Mr. Shunk from Viola.
Hello all, it's my honor to share some of the amazing things going on at Gladiola High School. As it is Classified Appreciation Week, I'd like to start with sharing some heartfelt gratitude and thanks for our classified staff at Gladiola. They truly live the words of other duties as assigned. Our classified crew is the glue that holds us together, and as we are a small school, they are tasked with a multitude of responsibilities each day. They are always up for the challenge. We appreciate each one of our classified staff and could not support our students to the level that we do without their help. Thank you. Next, to share some data. I love data. We averaged 1.97 credits earned per student quarter one, and 1.96 credits earned per student two. So we're staying really consistent with supporting students in learning and working to get caught up on credits to graduate. The average student earning on average 2 credits per quarter puts them at 8 per year with 24 to graduate. That means they're getting caught up. They only need 3 years to fully graduate versus 4. So that's pretty exciting. That is a lot of hard work on the students' part and on our staff part, supporting them to that high level of performance. And at that high level of performance, their students are feeling comfortable, they're feeling safe, they're feeling cared about by the staff there. So they're showing up and they're taking care of their studies, which is, it's a beautiful thing. It's a really special place. Additionally, we've been averaging about 85% attendance each week, which in the realm of alternative education is stellar and something to celebrate. And again, that's a team of people working to support that and holding kids accountable and making a welcoming place where they want to come every day. Another exciting news, we're just past the midway point with our rollout of our new social emotional learning program. It's based on the Discovery program out of Colorado, but we have dubbed it the Gladiola Way. There has been a lot of work on the part of staff in planning and implementing this program, but they all report they have seen some amazing progress made by our students since the start. As part of the Gladiola Way program, students are with a small cohort for 9 weeks, learning the life skills that will help them be successful in any path they choose. The cohort model helps students get to know some new friends they might not otherwise have known. And students also get to know a teacher well, making for a trusted adult they can come to with questions, concerns, or support needs. Our staff is really good at helping students and helping them get to the support services we have on campus to be able to help kids feel safe and secure in their lives so they can focus on education. The Gladiola Way program starts with learning how to be part of an effective group. Then they learn some tools for managing their emotions and anger. They learn how to be an effective communicator, how to be positively assertive, how to problem solve and hit challenges head on, and some tips and strategies on how to resolve interpersonal conflicts. Students report they're really enjoying the program and have shared many stories of how they've been applying these skills to their lives outside of school as well. We hope these are the skills they'll carry with them throughout their lives. I look forward to the next board report so I can share the results of the program, but so far it's looking like it'll be a wonderful success. We appreciate the district office's support of that also. Director Evans, you've been a big help in supporting us roll out that program and the guidance for that. I really appreciate it and support your help. So thank you. That's it.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the board? All right, thank you very much. 4.2, our IDT timeline and process. So, Kirk?
Director Cantola will present.
Oh, Michael Shunk, you're way taller than me. How'd that happen? So, we just an update so the board can answer questions if you get questions about the IDT process. We did do the kindergarten launch that I had absolutely nothing to do with, but Susan ran all that. We had in-person kindergarten launch. About 152 kindergarten students signed up for kindergarten at the launch. And so, about April 12th, we'll start working with principals to make sure that everybody that's on an IDT, like a remainder of the year, those types of things are in good standing with attendance and behavior. And Then we'll start sending out the letters to see if people who are remainder of the years and if siblings and that kind of stuff, if there's any people out there that are interested in IDTs as we start to establish slots. Could be an interesting season for establishing slots given our enrollment. We'll be seeing how many students come back, trying to make a good guess as to how many students are come back so that we can do a decent job of opening up some potential slots. So should be an interesting process, but the timeline will help you when you talk to patrons and things when they say, hey, how does this IDT thing work? So that they know when things come due and that kind of stuff. So, any questions about that stuff? Mr. Bryan?
Yeah, thanks, Danny. So with the potential slots for that, there may or may not be an influx of students coming back once the mask mandate goes away. We don't know what's going to happen there. So do you see that being a factor in the number of slots that's going to be open?
Yeah, that's that thing I was talking about, how it's going to be difficult perhaps to try to figure it out. I know that Susan, again, is doing some work with looking at the homeschool list. And we're trying to go through and say, okay, how many students were on the homeschool list pre-COVID? How many students were added to the homeschool list because of COVID or during COVID times? And then trying to get people to, within our system, to reach out to them to see, are they thinking that they might be coming back to school or not? We're also hoping that some people just show up at the doors and enroll right after spring break. So yeah, we've got to kind of gauge what that number is going to be. We try to go about 23, no more than 23 a class when you're at the elementary grades. We do leave some room for high school at the 9th grade like we have, and some room in the 10th grade a little bit. Another interesting conversation is we've not really opened up many slots at the middle school level, but we may be able to look at that this year. So.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
So we're down, depending on the day, 500 and some odd students. Is there a possibility that we would have 500 slots available for inter-district transfer?
Wow. So let me guess, let me say off the top of my head, Gary, seems like we're down, what, about 50, 60 kids at the high school. So we could open up some additional slots at the high school. I want to say we're down about 100 slots at the middle school. So that's a potential. And then, yeah, I wouldn't say 500, but there's a potential that we could open up more slots than we have in the past because we've got a downturn at the elementary as well. So, and that's that balancing act. You got to balance the slots. We make reductions, those kinds of things.
Well, in the past, our issues was certainly our middle school constraint.
Yeah.
Not so much at the other buildings, but we also sort of arbitrarily limited the amount of inter-district transfers with other districts for various reasons. And I guess I'm wondering, are we still considering that a valid reason?
It's a good question.
Who's going to answer it?
Well, yeah, I'm assuming we'll have a leadership meeting about that tomorrow. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know that we want to cripple another district by doing that, but
yeah, we, the process with what Susan's running with homeschool populations, continuing to advertise for kindergarten enrollment, continuing to brag about masks being off, trying to get some level of indicator. We have a bit amount of time when I look at the timeline to determine the number of slots. So additional data being gathered in any way possible will definitely impact that recommendation to the board, which comes before you, I believe, in May. Is that about right, Dan?
yes, May 10th. And Gary, I think just again, giving it a little more thought. So we were much more constrained early on in the interdistrict process, probably 10 years ago. We have become more and more about our capacity in terms of what our numbers have been. in our recommendations. It's really been based more on that 23 at the elementary grade type of stuff. So there's probably some balance in there between, hey, all 500 slots are open versus we have room for more capacity than we've had in the past. So, good questions.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Danny. Let's see, 4.3, our guitar plan course statement.
Yes, I will introduce Mr. Arturo VA. Arturo is one of our Spanish teachers here on staff, a longtime member, and previously taught guitar. And if you've ever heard him play classical guitar, you will be in for a treat as well. So Mr. Arturo VA is going to tell you a little bit more about guitar.
Distinguished board members, district and school administrators, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. My name is Arturo Ville, as I was introduced, and yes, I teach Spanish here at the Grants Pass High School. And but it turns out that I also play classical guitar. I was first hired in the year 2000 by Rene Cardet. And sure enough, shortly after he hired me, he noticed that I was a classical guitar player, along with my ex-wife, some of you may remember, Jackie Henry. And he immediately got the idea of offering me to teach that guitar class, which I started, I believe, in 2001 or maybe 2002. And immediately became a success. It was so much enthusiasm from a lot of students. And, we have here an incredible music program. And by adding this classical guitar class, that program was enhanced and was visible because we had the opportunity to perform at the different concerts that the school offered. So, unfortunately, for personal reasons, I left the district in the year 2004 or 5. And, but Jackie continued the class because she also plays guitar. But when I came back in 2008, at the end of 2008, she had left the district and there was this void. And I wanted to take class again at that time. But unfortunately, there was not much interest in the administration at that time. And but now, I am lucky to have the support of the current administration, led by Brian Thompson. And I took this opportunity to offer this class again. And we have already talked about the logistics, about how it will blend within my schedule of teaching Spanish. And I would like to talk to you and see if I can persuade you to support this class. That's basically my statement. If there is any question, I would be happy to answer any question.
Are there any questions, Brian?
Okay.
I remember attending a concert with a line of guitar playing students, and they were having a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, and there certainly will, if the class is approved, I promise that you're going to enjoy that, and students and the community at large will enjoy that. Thank you very much.
Arturo, mi amigo, tengo un pregunta, por favor.
Sí, cómo no.
Gracias por estar aquí. How many students do you think will be attending in your class if it starts up again?
Sorry, would you please repeat your...
How many students, alumnos, do you think will attend the class?
In the guitar class?
Yes.
How many? When I taught it before, I had an average of 30, I would say. And I believe that many students were not admitted in the class because there was a lot of interest in students. And I believe that nowadays, since the announcements were made, there is a lot of already many students showing interest in the class. But I would say that I am willing to take up to maybe around 30 students. It's not easy, but I will be doing my best to take up to it.
Would it just be one class, or would you be able to teach multiple classes in a day, or what does it look like for you?
I guess it would be just that class, and the other classes I will be teaching Spanish too, which the way we rotate the classes in the Spanish department, we rotate the grade level every year. So the most students come in Spanish 1, which I am currently teaching. So the next year, the classes reduce considerably. And I will be teaching Spanish 2 only. And maybe like this year, because there is less students, I am teaching an academic class. So we thought originally that this semester I could be teaching the guitar class for one semester, but it didn't get together the way we were expecting. So we aim at making it more structured for the following year. And rather than teaching a academic tutorial class, to better teach guitars, since this is my skills will be better used teaching guitar, I guess, than teaching an academic class.
I can help answer that. So students will be starting the process here soon of putting in their course requests for next year. So we'll get a sense of how many students want to take the course. We'll get a sense of how many students want to take Spanish. And then we'll look at the overall schedule and how many sections of academic tutorial we will need. And so we work really hard to try to accommodate student requests and build schedules out for teachers accordingly. I believe we have 3 teachers right now who are certified to teach Spanish. And so we're able to share the load there and potentially create these other opportunities for kids. So we're excited to have Arturo teaching guitar again here at Grants Pass High School.
Great, thank you very much.
Gracias.
Encantado, muchas gracias.
Sí.
Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good evening.
All right. 4.4, GP Flex restructuring. I see a herd of administrators rushing to the microphone to speak, so that's great. We're excited. A gathering.
Of excited people. Well,
a gaggle of administrators. There we go.
I don't know what we are. We're something. Hey, just wanted to share with you, been working on GP Flex, and sort of as any new program school, anything like that, we always want to look at the data, and just want to do a quick shout out to Principal Savage and the work she and her team have been doing to gather the data, to talk with families, to be looking at the ways that we can better serve kids in this online format. So we are looking at the data, we are trying to attend to what parents are needing, but more specifically what the kids are needing. Also discovering what kids aren't doing well in that environment and helping coach them through what would be the best learning modalities for them. So we're kind of venturing down this pathway. We know that online is an actual pathway for a lot of kids. It is here to stay. It's not going to go anywhere. What we're looking for is to provide even more flexibility for kids who are looking for those kinds of opportunities. Also just adding to the ability for even like secondary schedules to incorporate that into a student schedule. So maybe it isn't a student who's solely online, but they're just online for a couple of classes a day, those kinds of things, and to have that be a little more integrated. So we just wanted to share that a little bit with you tonight, but can't thank Principal Savage enough for her work with her team and supporting kids and giving them a pathway that didn't exist, a few years ago in this sort of format, and all the work that's gone into building this up, and we're going to continue to just kind of drive this forward. So I want to talk a little bit about how that's going to impact elementary, and what that might look like for secondary as well.
I just want to note that I planned my outfit before Director Evans did, for the record.
I just stand in between because you have to.
So talking about elementary changes for GP Flex, the 2 of the biggest changes that I want to highlight for you right now, because, well, 2 of the biggest changes are that we are going to make a shift in what age groups that we serve next year. So we are not going to serve kindergarten, first and second graders next year. We'll serve 3rd through 5th graders going forward. As we were talking about which students are having the most success, which families are having the most success. Are the primary grades the right fit for our online program, looking at what other district online programs do, which many of them do not serve primary grades. At the same time, the teacher who teaches our youngest students in GP Flex made a request to us to move back to brick and mortar for next year. So it kind of dovetailed with, well, should we, shouldn't we? And then with her request to move back to GP Flex, it just made it easier for us to make that decision. Not to say that we won't add those grades back in at a future date, but we want to get really good at this online learning thing, which, as you know, came out of necessity. And so now that we've had a couple of years under our belt, next year without hopefully a lot of the other distractions that have come to us these past couple of years, we can really fine tune that, get better at it, and then hopefully add it back going forward. That is about 18, well, not about, it is right at this moment exactly 18 kids who we will be working with families and talking about their options going forward. So it's not a huge number of students who fit in those categories. The other big change that's coming for next year that I'm very excited about, I think the teachers are excited about, is that we are going to move the program on connected to a school. So it's going to be housed at Highland Elementary. Our other schools have special programs that they house at their schools. Highland does not. They have the space for it. And so they're going to be the new home of GP Flex Elementary. That will allow those staff members to have a home base, peer teachers to collaborate with, the things that set the tone or culture of a school. They're just, go to the Christmas party, go to the Christmas programs, do the same field trips, all of those sorts of things. But what we're most excited about is now they will have a physical space to go to when the class wants to get together for something. As you know, that's been very limited this year. We haven't had space for them. And so now they'll have a spot that is their classroom, their place to go for those times that they want to do that. Lots of other changes that affect the whole program, but I'm going to let Dr. Evans talk about this.
And for 6 through 12, we will be looking to find a home for it as well. I don't know how many of you know where the team's office is right now here at Grants Pass High School, kind of out where we don't have a space to bring kids in very easily and do interventions or help problem solve. And so right now we are looking at Gladiola. There's going to be an open classroom there, but GP Flex Secondary, the school, will still exist and serve grades 6 through 12. One thing we've learned at secondary is the success of our students is something that has been a concern to us. So 2 things. One related to elementary, 2 is how many students our staff can actually serve. We have staff established, those staff will remain, and how many students can really come into the program to where their needs can be met by the staffing that we have. It kind of goes to the IDT conversation too, about just making sure we have the right number of staff so we don't overwhelm them. The second thing also for elementary and secondary is a screening process. I think during the COVID times, a lot of families chose online for safety concerns or concerns over their student wearing a mask, and didn't necessarily think about, is this the best way for my child to learn? So we're going to do a screening process where students and parents at grade 6 or 12, and then parents at elementary will go through kind of an assessment of their ability to support their student online at home with internet connectivity, space, time, attention, so that their child can be successful. And then as the student sits down with the counselor and develops that path or plan, like what classes do I want to take online? Are there classes I want to take at school? They'll work together to develop that plan and profile for the student going into school. So those are some of our thoughts right now. Our plan is Principal Savage is going to be sending an email out to the parents of GP Flex. We'll be including them in our conversations about what are some things that work? What are some things you wish would change? We'll be including the staff in those conversations, and we'll come back to you with kind of our vision is still there. We still have this thought, but because of some of the reasons we've talked about, budget concerns, staffing levels, enrollment, we need to kind of fine tune what we're doing so then we can better be poised to reach that goal that we have, that vision that we've shared with you in the past. So that is our information. Any questions?
Brian? Yeah, thank you. I just had a logistical question around students that are enrolled in GP Flex that have part of their classes at home and part at school. Are the parents responsible for the transit? Do we have a transit for that piece?
Natasha, correct me if I'm wrong. She works really hard to try to plan it to where transportation one direction can at least happen, and in some cases it can happen both directions. Is that accurate?
It hasn't happened in both directions. If we can schedule them in the morning and then take a bus there, we try to do that, or in the afternoon, take a bus home. A lot of times the parents do the transportation, or they coordinate with some friend that goes to school, and they try to, team up as far as transportation goes. We always try to get the classes side by side, so there's not a big break in between, or so that students aren't going back and forth, unless it's requested. One of the high school kids that drive themselves actually have requested to have a break in between, while others, we schedule them side by side, so that it's a one-time drop-off, one-time pickup.
Thanks. Do we anticipate any of the GP Flex students coming back to regular attending classes here next week? Or what does that, do we have a percentage or?
I can speak for elementary. There are, starting at the semester, I believe it's 13 students coming back to brick and mortar from GP Flex in the K-5 program. So that's the first wave, and we'll see if more come after that.
So looking forward to the future, what do we really envision the future of GP Flex being? I mean, I think a majority of the students in reality chose this, or their parents chose it because of the mandates and things and the pandemic. But if we do see that things settle down and we are getting back to whatever our normal is, how realistic is it in a number sense of children and families that are going to choose GP Flex?
That gets back to what Trish was saying about getting the right fit, the families and students that really fit the program. I think there are students and families who it is the right fit, whose students have the skills to be successful or have the support to be successful in that online setting. That's why we're going to have a screening process as a part of our entrance now. You won't just apply for GP Flex. You can apply for GP Flex. Right. You won't just sign up for it. And then that screening process will be the first step, and then individual onboarding would be the next step, so that we can get it matched up to the
right fit.
Keep saying fit, but the families that do have a fit. And I think that there always will be a population that it is the correct choice.
Yeah, I will dovetail on it. There's another population we haven't talked about, and we do have record number of enrollments who have chosen to go to other online charter school, not just homeschool, but online charter schools. I get notifications weekly of new students enrolling with them, and then monthly they send us a list of students, and those lists have been growing and continue to actually grow. There is a population of folks right now who aren't necessarily feeling safe of coming back with masks optional. So I had an influx this week of a number of enrollments of our students that as things settle down and people feel more safe, I think there's an element there where we need to reach out to those families and see if our GP Flex program will be something appealing to them, knowing that they can have local opportunities for a range of activities that most online programs throughout the state can't offer. So there's another opportunity for recruitment and increasing enrollment that we need to go down that path this summer as we restructure.
Natasha was just reporting that we did do a parent survey, And from the parent survey, 54% of those that took the survey said they wanted to continue in online next year. And one great thing she's doing is really combing over the data on, how'd that kid do? Because we really want the kid to be successful. And she's been doing a lot of footwork, reaching out to families and having one-on-one conversations about a plan that's really a fit for their student.
Debbie?
So I realize there's a number of parents in our community that prefer a homeschool curriculum, and some of them are now under the guidance of GP Flex at that K through 2 heading. Will that kind of thing continue, or do they have to decide on either brick and mortar or someplace else?
Yes, I'm not sure I understand. If they're homeschooling, they're signed up with the ESD or should be registered with the ESD to do a homeschool program, which is different from GP Flex. They're not a part of the GP Flex program. Is that what you're?
So if you could give a status of, you've been reaching out to parents, what has been the response from kindergarten through second grade?
Debbie, I know what you're referring to, and I think Debbie's referring to some of our families that have chosen the independent GP Flex route, where they are using GP Flex adopted curriculum, but rather than attending at elementary, the live sessions, they're working through it independently, where I'm their teacher of record. And under this model with the K2, unless there are other changes or if there's a lot of feedback requesting that independent route, I'm not sure that that's a direction that GP Flex will manage next year for the K2. However, however it ends up shaking out, if a family's wanting to talk one-on-one about a best direction for their K2 student in a more independent setting, even if GP Flex isn't managing that, I'm happy to talk with them and point them into some directions that might be appealing to them. But with the independent learning part, that would not currently be a part of K2. Does that answer your question, Debbie?
Closer, yes, thank you.
I'll also say, there's so many questions and details to be worked out, and we are just starting the process of that, and we will include the staff in those conversations. And so because we wanted to make, this is one of our first steps, is informing you and then informing parents. And then that kind of opens the door where, okay, now it's, out in the public and not just us thinking in our heads in our offices. And so then we can start the process of meeting with staff and working out all the details and answering all those questions together as a team. What can we do? What can't we do? What do we want to continue? What do we want to add? All of those things. So we're just at the beginning stages of when it gets to the nuts and bolts of things.
Well, it's always tricky when,
or Debbie?
we're trying to do our very best for all students and coming up with plans, but the ones who are affected, this is their moment, and they can't wait till it's perfect. So.
I guess mine's more of a comment than a question. I appreciate the fact that the district is offering differentiated instruction for the students. Later on our agenda, we have a Project Youth Plus. I'll have some more comments then, but I see GP Flex in whatever version it happens to be is trying to meet the needs of a specific set of students, and we're just trying to figure out who are those students and how does it match up.
Okay, thank you, our gaggle of administrators. Nice job. All right. right, 5.0, our board reports and special concerns. So I'll start off by talking about a few of these things here. We are, as I believe everyone knows, in the process of a superintendent search. We met, was it a week ago, for about almost 3 hours to review all of the candidates. The board has selected our very own Tricia Evans, as well as an outside candidate, Tim Sweeney, to come and interview on March 14th and March 15th. And I think without saying too much, we were very impressed with all of the candidates that we had, and it was a very long discussion about how best to proceed from the board's perspective, and I think that the district is in good hands with those who applied from our internal applicants, and it was a very hard decision as far as what was the best thing to do. So we appreciate all of those who applied, and we're looking forward to sitting down with these two candidates to come up with a final selection. We have put down as possible announcement date as March 29th. I don't know if the board will come to a decision prior to that or not. That's very possible, and so we will be meeting on the 15th and again on the 17th if necessary to continue our discussion. So we look forward to next week and what happens there. As far as our budget committee, we had agenda items for the board to discuss and indicated that we had one opening and 2 applicants. It's been recommended the board should have a subcommittee in order to interview the 2 applicants and make a recommendation to be voted on at our next meeting. And so I would recommend that that subcommittee be comprised of myself and Cassie as our vice chair. And then also Kirk, and we'll talk about recommendations for our budget committee. So lastly, we do have a board vacancy. And so I have here, and I hope everybody's picked it up. If not, it's in front of you. 14 applicants have applied. Our process actually needs to be a little formalized this evening. The applications have been blinded and we need to score them, and then we'll turn them back into Tanya. We'll then look at the results and make a selection or 2 or 3 depending on the scores, and those individuals will be invited to come at a future board meeting to interview, and then the board will make a selection on a person to fill that. And so one of the things that we do need to decide tonight is a timeline. How long would the board like to take in order to review all of these and then turn them back into Tanya so those can be scored? It would be my recommendation that we at least get them back to her before spring break, which is the week of the 21st. So I don't know if we could set a tentative deadline of March 18th to have all of these finalized. If that's too much because of our next week's schedule, I'm happy to open it up to other suggestions. But we do need to come up with some sort of deadline to get that done for the board so that we can start to prepare and invite the finalists to come and interview. So, Brian? Okay.
I don't have a problem with the 18th.
I had a question. I have the packet, but I think I have another one sitting here. A little confused.
What's missing a page? So that's the complete.
This is the extra one.
This is the complete application.
Substituted in here. Okay. Thank you.
All right, so hearing no objections, we will set the date of March 18th to have these all turned in to Tanya for scoring. She will email Cassie and I the results. We will share that with the board. And then we will unblind the surveys and we'll decide how many of those finalists will be coming for an interview, and then we can make the arrangements for them to come. I don't know if we're going to have a board meeting on the 22nd, so we can sort that out, but I would anticipate inviting the applicants to come on April 12th, unless someone else has a question or concern about that. Okay, hearing none, that's what we're going to do. I will make the executive decision. All right. That is all I had for board reports and special concerns. So are there any other items we want to talk about tonight? Brian?
Yeah, thank you. The board received several emails today from various people on staff regarding, once we come out of the mask mandate, what the requirements are going to be for, I believe, unvaccinated individuals. And there was some pretty significant concern raised.
Sure, let me speak to that. I was going to address that under our SSL update, so I can do that now for you, Brian, if you'd like. So what, basically, because there is still the vaccine mandate and the guidance from the state around that, we do have to bargain the impacts of the mandate and now the lifting of the mandate, the vaccine mandate, now the lifting of the mask mandate. So those are things that we are required to bargain. As you can see, the agenda was modified, that we did not reach an MOA last week to present to the board and discuss negotiations. We have another session coming up this Friday for which we would, so I can't really comment exactly. We're hoping that we can reach an agreement that will help support all staff members and their wishes going forward. So more to come on that. So more to come on that. I can't necessarily comment too much due to collective bargaining law.
Okay. Would there be any benefit to having an executive session before then with the board to discuss that, or no?
It was originally on the agenda, so I don't see the board has the purview to add that back to the agenda so we can have a discussion this evening. And we have the right players in the room to do that. So I would be amenable to that, and I think the board got inundated with enough communications today that it would be worth talking prior to bargaining.
So if I understand correctly, the changes that went out to the staff were because of the bargaining that went on, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So, and that does differ from the ODE requirements or recommendations to school districts, is that
no?
Correct?
So what hasn't changed is the vaccine mandate and the requirement to, what's the language exactly? The requirement for providing accommodations to ensure limited transmission of COVID from unvaccinated individuals. And so that mandate still exists. We don't anticipate that to be lifted based on what we're hearing out of the Oregon Department of Education. So it is still something we're required to have and determine reasonable accommodations, which ultimately is the impact that needs to be bargained.
So every district can look a little different because of their bargaining.
That is correct. That is correct.
Okay.
And it really does look very different across Southern Oregon, so, based on information that's been shared with us.
Well, I can't speak for the other board members, but I'd be in favor of talking about that in executive tonight.
Well, I believe we need a motion if we'd like to do that, so. So I assume that was a motion, Brian?
Sure. Yeah, that's a motion.
Okay.
Second.
All right, so it's been moved and seconded that we add back onto the executive session our negotiations for executive session. So any further discussion on that? All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
I'm only giving you like 2 seconds, Carrie, if you want to make a comment, so you got to be fast. All right, any opposed?
Wait till the motion's over, then I have a comment.
Okay, any opposed? All right, so the motion carries. Gary, you may make your comment.
So, just for my own, I'm looking for affirmation, I guess. So, there are OARs that were implemented sometime in the past year or two that are still in force, that it doesn't really matter what the RSSL stuff does. And then there's also the contract that the district has to bargain with the employee groups. So the employees should turn to their employee groups to see what the outcome of that's going to look like.
Yes, they have been directed back to their employee groups to advocate their positions.
Okay, thank you.
Any other board reports and special concerns? I think we're going to have a record short meeting. Oh, Debbie, yes. Shouldn't have said it. I knew it. I knew I shouldn't have.
Sorry, Debbie has a book report.
That's okay, Debbie. I was just kidding. We may always share.
Well, today happens to be International Women's Day, and I just thought I would share the book I'm reading from the Grants Pass Community Library on girlhood, 15 stories from well-read Black Girl Library by Glory Edom as the editor of that, and I'm finding it very helpful looking at other cultures that I have really no exposure to, even though they are American. It's more of an international flavor for me living in Grants Pass. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. All right, well, we're going to move on to 6.0, our superintendent report. So I will turn the time over to Kirk.
Sure. The first agenda item here, very excited for the district and the future of the district in the business and finance department. As may have been shared with the board previously, this is one of the most challenging and unique positions to fill as a school district. And so I know our team is tremendously excited to welcome Nefeli Sparks here to Grants Pass School District. So a couple of quick comments. Nefeli has an amazing, I did put her application packet in here so you could see her range of experiences in the range of budgets and responsibilities she's had. She's currently the business manager for the city of Medford. She does live here in Grants Pass and is even more excited to become more involved and engaged in the community. She's got a track record of being around the world, 23 different countries. 26 different countries, and comes from a family of a lot of humanitarian work across the globe, but just a tremendous story, tremendous asset welcoming her to Grants Pass School District. So Nefeli, if you want to say anything. Yes, welcome. Thank you. So the other agenda item here is our SSL update. I don't have a lot to add other than masks are coming off. The data when we sent it out to students, to staff, to families was overwhelming, between 80 and 90% for each group that supported masks optional. And a lot of messaging going out this week from all of our administrators to their students and families to ensure that there isn't any mask bullying or things like that might cause division, really respecting each other's opinions and decisions around that. And so I'm super proud to say being on the front end of that and really getting kids to believe in and support, as well as having staff be understanding of each other and their decisions personally. Excited to share that masks are now optional, and then we just have to work through a few other logistics, and we're seeing the other side of this COVID impact on our schools, and excited moving forward.
All right, thank you. We'll move on to our action items this evening, and I think we will take each of these one at a time. So our first action item, 7.1, approval of supplemental reading materials. So I will entertain a motion to approve the reading materials which we discussed, I believe, at our last meeting.
Member DeLaGrange, so moved.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Any comments, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say yes. Yes?
Yes.
Any opposed? Great, thank you. The motion carries. 7.4, approval of guitar plan course statement. We have a motion to approve.
Member DeLaGrange, so moved.
Second?
Perfect. Moved and seconded. Any further comments or discussion? All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Any opposed? Great. 7.5, approval of Project Youth Plus contract 2021 and 2022.
Member DeLaGrange, so moved.
I'll second this one too.
Thank you. Gary, do you have any comments? Okay.
Project Youth Plus is formerly called College Dreams, and they've gathered data to show that when their program is implemented, students stay enrolled longer in District 7. And at least with the numbers that I looked at many years ago, any money that District 7 paid for that program was more than made up by the additional time students remained at District 7, and for some of them, that meant that they graduated instead of dropped out. So I just kind of wanted to comment that this has been a very good program for the kids at District 7 for a particular group. It doesn't fit everybody, but for those that fit in that, it works very well.
Thank you, Gary. And I will add that that group has expanded over time, and they have increased their capacity to serve more students in different ways. So they have been a tremendous partner throughout the years, and being probably one of the primary districts that they work with since their inception, have been a tremendous partner. So we're grateful for that relationship. They continue to seek grant funds that supplement much of the cost, and so they're a hardworking bunch who are really good for kids, and they're a great partner for the district.
Great, thank you. So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. That motion carries. 7.6, approval of Epic Land Solutions access to Allen Creek.
I'll just make a few comments before the board may make a motion. This is essentially so ODOT can access the land there through our property to do some assessments for the property, I believe, owned by the city. And so this is really granting them access to the Allen Creek property.
Any other questions about that, Brian?
Member DeLaGrange, so moved.
Okay, perfect. Do you have a second?
I'll second, but I do have a question.
We accept your second and your question, Debbie.
So perhaps Principal Messer could fill us in if they find everything is okey-dokey and helpful. Would it be helpful for Allendale to have this project go forward?
I believe so, yeah. Especially, with our blessing kind of spreading out, kids could access it, walk to school.
Okay, you don't see any downsides to this project?
No, it's pretty secure. We have a gate or a fence around other schools. The gates are locked up.
Okay. And no problems if there was a future expansion in that area or at your school site? Okay, thank you.
All right, so it's been moved and seconded. Any further questions or discussion? All in favor, please say yes.
Yes?
And any opposed? Thank you. 7.7, approval of Resolution 2122-06, Classified Appreciation Week. And I can read it before or after. How about if I read it now, and then we'll entertain a motion to approve? So it says, whereas the education of youth is essential to the future of our community, state, country, and world, and whereas classified employees are the backbone of our public education system, and whereas classified employees work directly with students, educators, parents, volunteers, business partners, and community members, and whereas classified employees support the smooth operation of offices, the safety and maintenance of buildings and property, and the safe transportation, healthy nutrition, and direct instruction of students. And whereas our community depends upon and trusts classified employees to serve students, and whereas classified employees with their diverse talents and true dedication nurture students throughout their school years. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Grants Pass District 7 Board of Directors proclaims March 7th through 11th, 2022 to be Classified Employee Appreciation Week. And be it further resolved that the Grants Pass School District Number 7 Board of Directors strongly encourage all members of our community to join in this observance, recognizing the dedication and hard work of these individuals. So with that, can we have a motion to approve that resolution?
So moved.
Thank you, Cliff.
I'll second.
Thank you, Cassie. Any further discussion or comments? All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right, the motion carries. That was amazing. We got through all of that. All right. 8.0, future meeting dates and suggested agenda items. So we have our executive sessions on March 14th and 15th. We do have one tentatively set up for the 17th, if necessary. We do need to discuss our March 22nd board meeting. So are there any thoughts or comments about that? I know that that is spring break. We probably will have a paucity of school administrators and teachers and principals. I don't know about the board.
Is there a need? Does administration see a need?
There is no pressing business that would require us to have that meeting.
We don't usually have that meeting, do we?
It's very typical that that meeting has been canceled. In fact, I don't recall a year in which we've held that meeting over spring break.
Well, being unusual times, let's just go back to normal. All right, so unless there's, Brian?
I just had a question on our previous meeting dates on the candidate interviews. It says on here, executive session 7:30. I assume that I have on my calendar, there's the dinner at 6. That's correct? Is that how we're doing it?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
All right, so we will cancel the board meeting on the 22nd, and then we do have a board meeting scheduled on April 12th and our budget planning meeting on the 21st. So with that, unless there's any other business, we will adjourn our meeting and reconvene in 5 minutes for our executive session. Thank you, everyone, for your attendance, and have a great night. Good. All right, welcome. We will reconvene our Grants Pass School District Number 7 board meeting. We've just come out of executive session. We do have one item on our agenda, that is Resolution 2122-04, Employment Recommendations to the Board 2022-2023. I will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you very much. We will adjourn our meeting and see you in the 12th of April.